The great hall of Nexus Prime stretched out like a crystal cathedral, its walls pulsing with alien light. Ambassador Patricia Kane stood at the center of the circular chamber, her hands clasped behind her back as 7 different alien species stared down at her from their elevated seats. The air hummed with translation devices, turning her words into sounds that ranged from musical chimes to harsh clicking noises. "The human delegation has presented their case," said Counselor Ethanos, his tree-like form creaking as he leaned forward. The ancient Yggdrani spoke with a voice like wind through leaves. "We have reviewed your species' history, your technology, and your intentions." Patricia kept her face calm, but her heart raced. Everything depended on this moment. Humanity had worked for decades to reach this point, to stand before the Galactic Council and ask for membership. Earth's best scientists had developed faster than light travel. Their diplomats had learned 7 alien languages. Their military had proven they could defend themselves without being aggressive. "Your species shows promise," said Veltar, the energy being whose voice sounded like distant thunder. The luminary counselor's form shifted between different colors as he spoke. "Your technology is crude but functional. Your minds are quick to learn." Patricia felt a moment of hope, but then she saw the way the other counselors looked at each other. Something was wrong. "However," continued Zakthi, the insect-like Thrix admiral whose compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights, "your history concerns us deeply. Your species has known nothing but war for thousands of years. You fight each other over land, resources, ideas, and even skin color." "That is our past," Patricia said, stepping forward. "We have moved beyond those conflicts. We united our world. We ended poverty and hunger. We reached for the stars together, did you?" asked Kevsha, the amphibious Corvani whose gills fluttered with each word. "Your ships still carry weapons. Your soldiers still train for battle. Even now, your Admiral Lisa Carter waits in orbit with armed vessels." Patricia's jaw tightened. "We carry weapons for defense. The galaxy has shown us that not all species are peaceful. We learned that lesson when the Gravek raiders attacked our first colony ship." "And how did you respond to that attack?" rumbled Thonrak, the silicon-based Gravek whose rocky body shifted with each breath. "You hunted down every raider ship. You destroyed their base. You showed no mercy." "They were pirates," Patricia replied. "They killed 300 innocent colonists." "Violence breeds violence," said Ishtai, the crystalline Zalari whose body sang with harmonic tones. "This is the way of young species. They see force as the answer to every problem. We see force as one tool among many," Patricia said. "We prefer diplomacy, trade, and cooperation. But we will not stand by while innocents are murdered." The 7 counselors exchanged glances that somehow managed to convey meaning across completely different biologies. Patricia felt her hope dying as she watched them communicate in ways humans could barely understand. "The decision has been made," Athenos announced. His ancient voice carried the weight of certainty. "Humanity is denied membership in the Galactic Council. Your species is too young, too violent, too unpredictable to join our peaceful alliance." Patricia felt like she had been punched in the stomach. "Counselor, please reconsider. We have so much to offer. Our scientists have already made improvements to your medical technology. Our engineers have designed more efficient fusion reactors. We can contribute to the greater good of all species." "Your contributions are noted," said Veltar, his energy form pulsing with what might have been sympathy, "but they do not change what you are. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when your species has evolved beyond its primitive instincts, we can revisit this decision. Furthermore," added Zakthi, his mandibles clicking with each word, "we cannot allow your continued military buildup. Your weapons technology advances too quickly. Your naval expansion threatens the peace we have maintained for millennia." Patricia felt ice in her veins. "What are you saying?" "Humanity must dismantle its military forces," Athenos declared. "You will surrender all weapons technology to Council oversight. Peacekeeping forces will be stationed in your system to ensure compliance. You will accept guidance from more mature civilizations until you learn to live in harmony." The ambassador stared at the 7 aliens in disbelief. "You want us to become defenseless slaves?" "We want you to become civilized," Kevsha replied, her voice carrying a tone that suggested the matter was already settled. "This is not punishment. This is an opportunity to grow beyond your savage nature." Patricia straightened her shoulders and looked each counselor in the eye. When she spoke, her voice carried the strength that had made humanity reach for the stars. The United Earth government will never accept these terms. We are a free people, and we will remain free. Then you choose isolation, Thonrak rumbled. No trade with council species. No access to our knowledge or technology. No protection from the dangers that lurk in the dark between stars. Your choice will doom your species to stagnation and eventual extinction. We will take that risk, Patricia said. She turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. Ambassador Kane, called Ethanos. She stopped but did not turn around. Council forces are already moving to establish a blockade around your system. You have 1 standard month to reconsider our generous offer. After that, we will take whatever steps are necessary to ensure galactic peace. Patricia left the chamber without another word. In the docking bay, she boarded her shuttle and sent an encrypted message to Earth. The message was simple. They said no. Prepare for the worst. As her shuttle reached orbit, she could see the sleek council ships already positioning themselves around Nexus Prime. Their hulls gleamed like jewels, beautiful and graceful in the way that only beings who had never known real danger could create. But Patricia had studied those ships and she knew their weaknesses. The Council had been at peace for so long that they had forgotten how to truly fight. Admiral Lisa Carter received the message aboard the orbital defense platform above Earth. She read it twice, then activated the emergency protocols that had been prepared for this exact scenario. Across the Sol system, hidden shipyards came to life. Scientists who had been working on theoretical projects suddenly found unlimited funding. Military planners who had been dismissed as paranoid warmongers were suddenly the most important people on Earth. President Stephen Walsh addressed the world that evening. He stood behind the podium in the Oval Office, looking directly into the cameras that would carry his words to every corner of Earth and every human settlement in the system. My fellow humans, he began. Today we learned that the galaxy does not want us as we are. They want us weak, defenseless, and subservient. They believe that because we have known conflict, we cannot know peace. They believe that because we carry weapons, we cannot build bridges. They are wrong. He paused, letting his words sink in. We will not bow. We will not surrender our freedom. We will not become slaves to beings who think themselves our betters. Instead, we will show them what humanity can truly accomplish when we stand united and determined. The die was cast. Humanity had been judged and found wanting by the aliens who ruled the galaxy. Now they would have to prove that the judges were fools, and that humans were capable of far more than their enemies could imagine. 6 months had passed since the Council's ultimatum, and Earth looked nothing like the world the aliens remembered. Every major city buzzed with activity as factories worked around the clock. The asteroid belt had become a maze of construction platforms and mining operations. Humanity had transformed their entire civilization into one massive war machine, but not the crude kind the aliens expected. Dr. Amanda Foster stood in the research lab deep beneath the Colorado mountains, staring at the holographic display of a captured Council scout ship. Her team had been working on it for 3 months, taking apart every component and studying every design choice. What they found surprised everyone. The aliens got lazy, she told her assistant Dr. Kevin Young as they examined the ship's power core. Look at this fusion reactor. It works, but it's terribly inefficient. They could get twice the power output with better magnetic containment. Kevin nodded, highlighting another section of the ship. Same thing with their armor plating. It looks pretty, but it's designed more for show than protection. These curves and decorative elements actually create weak points. Amanda smiled grimly. They've been at peace so long they forgot how to build things that need to survive real combat. This gives us a huge advantage. 300 miles above Earth, Captain Ben Morris walked through the corridors of the UES Defiant, the first of humanity's new warships. Unlike the graceful alien vessels with their smooth curves and artistic designs, the Defiant looked like exactly what it was, a weapon built for war. Its angular hull was covered in armor plates and weapon pods. Every line spoke of function over form. Status report, Morris said as he entered the bridge. All systems green. Captain, replied his tactical officer, Lieutenant Nicole Baker. Weapons are loaded and ready. Chief Santos reports that the new fusion drives are performing beyond specifications. Morris nodded and activated the ship's communication system. Throughout the Sol system, similar reports were coming in from dozens of new warships. The Council thought humanity was building a few defensive platforms. They had no idea that Earth's shipyards were producing vessels at a rate that would have seemed impossible to the aliens. Chief Engineer Maria Santos was in the main engineering section, supervising the final checks on the Defiant's most important system, the new jump drive that Dr. Foster's team had developed. It was based on Council technology but improved with human engineering, where alien ships needed careful calculations and slow transitions. Human ships could jump quickly and accurately. The beauty of our approach, Santos explained to her assistant, is that we don't waste time trying to make things elegant. The aliens spend months polishing every component. We focus on making things work better and faster. On the far side of the asteroid belt, Colonel Danny Rodriguez was preparing for a very different kind of mission. His stealth ship, the Shadow Runner, was designed to slip past Council sensors and establish contact with the minor species that the aliens kept under their control. Intelligence reports suggested that dozens of worlds were unhappy with Council rule, but no one had ever offered them an alternative. Remember, Rodriguez told his diplomatic team as they prepared to depart, we're not trying to start rebellions. We're offering partnerships. These species have been treated as servants or worse for centuries. They need to see that humans are different. Ambassador Helen Clark checked her translation equipment one final time. She had studied the languages and cultures of 17 different alien species, preparing for this moment. The key is respect, she said. The Council treats these species like children or pets. We treat them as equals who have something valuable to offer. The Shadowrunner slipped away from human space, its advanced stealth systems hiding it from Council patrols. Their first stop would be the Kytherian homeworld, where a reptilian species had been enslaved by the Gravix for 300 years. Intelligence suggested the Kytherians had once been excellent warriors before the Council crushed their military and turned them into laborers. Back on Earth, the real surprise was taking shape in the hidden shipyards of Titan. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the observation deck, watching as the first Nova-class dreadnought took shape. The massive vessel dwarfed anything in the Council fleet, its hull bristling with weapon systems that human engineers had designed specifically to counter alien technology. How many do we have in production? Carter asked the shipyard supervisor. 12 are under construction right now, he replied. The first one should be ready for trials next month. Dr. Foster's team has some new toys they want to install first. Carter smiled. The Council expected humanity to build a few defensive platforms and maybe some patrol boats. Instead, they were constructing a fleet that could take on the entire alien alliance. But the real genius wasn't in the size of the ships or the power of their weapons. It was in the tactics humanity had developed. While aliens fought according to ancient traditions and formal rules of engagement, human military planners had studied every historical battle and developed new strategies. They knew that Council fleets moved in predictable formations and followed strict protocols. Human ships would be different. They would be unpredictable, adaptive, and deadly. The test came sooner than expected. Council Admiral Zakthi arrived in the Sol system with 50 of the finest ships in the Thrix fleet. The insectoid commander had been ordered to inspect Earth's compliance with the Council's demands and ensure that humanity was dismantling its military as required. What Zakthi found was apparently exactly what the Council expected. A few civilian stations orbited Earth, along with some basic defensive platforms. The asteroid belt showed signs of mining operations, but nothing that looked military. The system appeared defenseless, just as the Council had demanded. Humans of Earth, Zakthi broadcast from his flagship, I am Admiral Zakthi of the Galactic Council. You will prepare to receive inspection teams aboard all stations and vessels. Any attempt to resist will be considered an act of war against the Council. The response came from Admiral Carter aboard what appeared to be a simple space station. Admiral Zakthi, you are not welcome in our system. Leave now and no harm will come to your fleet. The Thrix Admiral clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his species. You are in no position to make threats, human. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. That was when Carter sprang the trap she had been preparing for months. Throughout the Sol system, stealth fields dropped and weapon systems came online, hidden behind asteroids, concealed in the shadows of planets, and masked by sensor-dampening fields. 200 human warships revealed themselves. The Battle of Sol lasted exactly 4 hours and 17 minutes. Zakthi's ships were faster and more maneuverable than human vessels, but they had never faced an enemy that ignored traditional rules of engagement. Human ships attacked from multiple directions at once. They used the system's asteroids and planets as cover. They deployed weapon systems that the aliens had never seen before. Most importantly, they fought with a coordination that surprised even their own commanders. While council ships operated as individual units following general orders, human vessels shared targeting data and tactical information in real time. When one ship identified a weakness in an alien vessel, every human ship in range knew about it instantly. The council ships fought bravely, but they were outmatched in every way that mattered. Their elegant hulls cracked under the impact of human kinetic weapons. Their advanced shields failed against focused plasma bombardments. Their sophisticated sensors couldn't track human ships that seemed to appear and disappear at will. When the last Thrix vessel was destroyed, Admiral Carter sent a message throughout the Sol system. All ships, excellent work. Remember, no survivors. The Council cannot know what really happened here. The cleanup took another 2 hours. Every piece of alien wreckage was collected and analyzed. Every transmission was recorded and studied. The official records would show that Admiral Zakti's fleet had simply vanished somewhere in deep space, another mystery of the dangerous galaxy. But in the hidden bases and secret shipyards throughout human space, the victory was celebrated as proof that their strategy would work. The Council's ships were beautiful and advanced, but they had been built by species that had forgotten the harsh realities of war. Human vessels were ugly and brutal, but they were built by people who understood that survival meant being stronger, faster, and more cunning than anyone who threatened them. Dr. Foster looked at the wreckage of the Thrix flagship and smiled. "Send everything to the research teams," she ordered. "We need to understand their technology completely before we start the next phase." The Council thought they had given humanity a simple choice: submit or die. They never imagined a third option: fight back and win. But that was exactly what humans intended to do, and the Battle of Sol was just the beginning. 2 years had passed since Admiral Zakti's fleet had vanished, and the galaxy still had no idea what had happened. The Council's official reports listed the incident as lost in deep space, another unfortunate accident in the dangerous regions beyond civilized space. They never suspected that humanity had destroyed every ship and was now using their technology to build an empire in the shadows. Captain Tony Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UES Phantom, one of 12 stealth ships that had been mapping Council territory for the past 18 months. His ship was invisible to alien sensors, using technology that Dr. Foster's team had developed by combining human engineering with captured Council systems. The Phantom could slip through the most heavily guarded systems without being detected. "Target acquired," reported his sensor officer, Lieutenant Patricia Howard. "Gravex Supply Depot, just like intelligence said. 3 cargo ships and a light escort." Mitchell nodded. "Any signs that they know we're here?" "Negative, sir. Their sensors are scanning right through us." The captain smiled. The aliens had built their entire civilization around the idea that space was mostly empty and hostile forces would announce themselves properly. They had never developed sensors designed to detect ships that were actively trying to hide. Human stealth technology was like magic to them. "Mark the location and move on," Mitchell ordered. "Command wants a complete map of their supply routes before we start the next phase." 3 systems away, Dr. Rebecca Stone was making a discovery that would change everything. Her archaeological team had been investigating dead worlds in the Outer Rim, looking for traces of pre-Council civilizations. What they found on a barren planet in the Epsilon sector was beyond anyone's expectations. The ruins were ancient, clearly millions of years old, but the technology they contained was far more advanced than anything the current Council species possessed. The beings who built these structures had mastered sciences that modern aliens could barely understand. Dr. Stone's team called them the Precursors, and their legacy was scattered across dozens of worlds. "This changes everything we know about galactic history," Stone told her assistant, Dr. Linda Gray, as they examined an intact precursor data core. "These beings didn't just disappear. They were wiped out. The data core's holographic displays showed images of a galaxy filled with life. Hundreds of species had thrived under precursor guidance, working together to explore the universe and push the boundaries of science." Then came the records of the war, and Dr. Stone felt sick as she watched the systematic genocide that had destroyed the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known. The Council species weren't members of some ancient alliance, Gray said, her voice filled with disgust. They were the ones who destroyed it. They killed the precursors and enslaved every other species they could find. Stone nodded grimly. And they've been lying about it ever since. That peaceful alliance they're so proud of is built on the bones of billions of innocent beings. The archaeological team immediately transmitted their findings back to Earth, where military planners realized they now had the perfect weapon against Council propaganda. But more importantly, the precursor ruins contained technology that made human ships look primitive by comparison. On the other side of human space, General Chris Walker was about to put 2 years of planning into action. His target was the Catherian homeworld, where the reptilian species had been enslaved by the Gravics for 3 centuries. Intelligence reports suggested that the Catherians still remembered their warrior heritage and would make excellent allies if someone gave them the chance to fight back. Remember, Walker told his officers as they prepared for the assault, we're not conquerors, we're liberators. These people have been slaves long enough. The attack began at dawn, Catherian time. Human ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system, their stealth fields hiding them from Gravek sensors until the last possible moment. The alien garrison had been expecting nothing more dangerous than a supply convoy. Instead, they found themselves facing 20 of humanity's newest warships. The battle demonstrated everything that was wrong with Council military doctrine. The Gravik commander, following procedures that hadn't changed in 1,000 years, ordered his ships to form a defensive line and engage the human fleet in formal combat. Walker's response was to ignore the alien formation completely and attack from 6 different directions at once. Human ships used electronic warfare systems to blind Gravek sensors, then struck with precision weapons that targeted specific systems rather than trying to destroy entire vessels. Within an hour, the alien fleet was disabled and helpless. But Walker's real masterpiece was what happened next. Instead of destroying the Gravek ships, human boarding parties captured them intact. The alien crews found themselves face to face with humans who spoke their language and understood their culture, thanks to 2 years of intelligence gathering. More importantly, they met Catherian rebels who had been secretly working with human agents for months. Your empire ends today, Walker told the Gravek commander through a translator. But your people don't have to die. Surrender peacefully, and we'll treat you as prisoners of war. Continue to fight, and we'll turn you over to the Catherians you've been oppressing. The Gravek surrender took less than 6 hours. 3 centuries of brutal occupation ended when human forces landed on the Catherian capital and formally recognized their independence. The reptilian warriors who emerged from hidden bunkers and underground resistance cells were everything intelligence reports had promised: tough, disciplined, and eager for revenge against their former masters. We had given up hope, said Catherian war leader Seth as he met with General Walker in the ruins of the old slave quarters. The council convinced us that resistance was futile. You have shown us that even the mightiest tyrants can be defeated. Walker nodded. We're offering you a choice. Join us as equals and help us free other enslaved worlds, or remain independent and rebuild your civilization in peace. Either way, you'll never be slaves again. The Catherians' answer came in the form of 300 volunteer warriors who immediately began training alongside human marines. Their knowledge of council tactics and weaknesses proved invaluable. But more importantly, their presence sent a message to every oppressed species in the galaxy. Resistance was possible. Lieutenant Nicole Baker was learning that lesson firsthand as she led Ghost Squadron on hit and run attacks across 7-star systems. Her 12 fighter pilots had been terrorizing Council shipping lanes for 6 months, striking fast and disappearing before enemy reinforcements could arrive. The aliens had no idea how to counter tactics they had never seen before. Ghost leader to all ships, Baker transmitted as her squadron approached another target. Council supply convoy, 4 cargo vessels with light escort. Standard formation, they haven't learned a thing. The human fighters attacked like a swarm of angry wasps, hitting multiple targets simultaneously before the aliens could coordinate a response. Baker's Raptor-class fighter danced between enemy fire, its advanced maneuvering systems allowing her to pull turns that would have killed an alien pilot. Human reflexes and intuition were proving far superior to alien technology and training. Another successful mission, her wingman, Captain Michelle Davis, reported as they regrouped after the attack. That's 15 convoys this month. Command says Council shipping is down 40% in this sector. Baker smiled inside her helmet. Good. Maybe they'll start to understand that the galaxy doesn't belong to them anymore. The Council was indeed starting to understand that something was wrong, but they had no idea how wrong things really were. Counselor Veltar had been investigating the strange disappearances and attacks for months, and what he found troubled him deeply. The pattern is too coordinated to be pirates, he told his fellow counselors during an emergency session. Someone is systematically attacking our supply lines and liberating our subject worlds. The incidents are happening across too wide an area for any single species to be responsible. Ethnos rustled his branches thoughtfully. Are you suggesting that multiple species have united against us? That seems unlikely. We have maintained peace for millennia, have we? Veltar asked. Or have we simply been so strong that no one dared oppose us openly? The reports from the Outer Rim suggest that someone has found a way to challenge our supremacy. The ancient tree being was silent for a long moment. Send investigation fleets to the affected systems. We must know what we're facing. That decision led directly to the Battle of Kepler Station, where General Alex Thompson's Third Fleet was waiting. Thompson had been hoping to draw out a major council force, and Veltar's investigation fleet was exactly what he needed. 50 of the Luminary's finest ships, led by the energy being himself, dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find pirates or rebels. Instead, they found 20 human dreadnoughts and 100 escort vessels arranged in a formation that no council species had ever seen before. The human ships were positioned to use Kepler Station's asteroid field as both cover and weapons, launching rocks at near-light speed while their energy weapons carved through alien hulls. This is impossible, Veltar transmitted as his flagship's shields failed under concentrated human fire. No species in the galaxy has this level of tech. The Great Convocation had not been called in over 2,000 years. In the vast ceremonial chamber on Nexus Prime, representatives from all 7 council species gathered to address what Supreme Counselor Ethnos called the greatest threat to galactic peace in recorded history. The ancient Yggdrani's massive form dominated the center of the hall, his branches reaching toward a ceiling that showed real-time displays of the disasters spreading across council space. Entire systems have gone dark, Ethnos announced, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. Our fleets are disappearing. Subject species are declaring independence. Someone has united our enemies against us, and they possess technology that rivals our own. Counselor Ishtai's crystalline form resonated with harmonics of fear. The attacks are too coordinated, too precise. Whoever leads these rebels understands our weaknesses better than we understand them ourselves. Impossible, rumbled Thonrak, the Gravik's rocky exterior showing stress fractures. We are the masters of this galaxy. No lesser species has ever possessed the capability to threaten the Council. Admiral Kevshaw of the Corvani amphibians rippled her gills nervously. My fleets report enemy vessels that appear and disappear like ghosts. Their weapons penetrate our shields as if they were not there. Their tactics are unlike anything in our historical records. The debate might have continued for hours, but it was interrupted by an urgent transmission from the Outer Rim. A badly damaged Zalari scout ship had jumped into the Nexus system, its hull scarred by weapons that had nearly torn it apart. Supreme Counselor, gasped the scout ship's commander, I have identified the enemy. They are humans. The chamber fell silent. Every counselor stared at the transmission in disbelief. Humans were the primitive species they had rejected 5 years ago. They were supposed to be isolated in their home system, disarmed and helpless. Impossible, whispered Veltar, his energy form flickering with shock. We destroyed their military capabilities. They cannot have recovered so quickly. Show us, commanded Ethnos. The scout ship's recording filled the chamber with images that chilled every alien present. Massive human warships, their hulls bristling with weapons the Council had never seen before. Swarms of fighters moving with precision that seemed almost impossible. Most terrifying of all, ships bearing the symbols of species the Council had thought were safely enslaved. They have allies, the scout commander continued. Catherians Vicani, dozens of subject species fighting alongside the humans. They are calling themselves the Terran Alliance, and they claim they will not stop until every world is free from Council control. The implications hit the counselors like a physical blow. If the humans had united the galaxy's oppressed species against them, the Council faced the first real challenge to their authority in thousands of years. How many ships? Asked Ethnos. Unknown, Supreme Counselor. Our estimates range from 5,000 to 50,000 combat vessels. Their construction capabilities appear to be enormous. Admiral Nathan Pierce stood in the command center of the UES Vengeance, humanity's newest super dreadnought, watching as reports flowed in from across the galaxy. Operation Tempest was beginning exactly as planned. While the Council massed their forces for what they expected to be a single decisive battle, human fleets were already moving against the core worlds of all 7 species. Phase 1 is complete, reported his tactical officer, Commander Patricia Kane. All target systems have been infiltrated by stealth ships. Local defenses have been mapped and marked for priority targeting. Pierce nodded and activated the fleet communication system. Throughout human space, hundreds of ship commanders were waiting for his orders. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Pierce. Operation Tempest is now active. You know your targets. You know your mission. Show the galaxy what happens when you threaten free beings. The response was immediate and devastating. Across 12 different star systems, human fleets dropped out of hyperspace simultaneously. They struck at the heart of Council power with a coordination that would have been impossible for the aliens to achieve. Every attack was perfectly timed, every target carefully chosen to cause maximum disruption. Admiral Lisa Carter led the assault on Zelak Prime, the crystal homeworld of the Zalari. Her fleet of 30 dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace to find a defense network that had not been seriously tested in over 1,000 years. The crystalline ships that rose to meet her were beautiful works of art, but they had been designed more for ceremony than combat. All ships, focus fire on their command vessels, Carter ordered. Target their communication arrays first. Don't let them coordinate a response. The battle was over in 6 hours. Zalari technology was advanced, but their ships moved with the slow precision of beings who had never faced a truly desperate enemy. Human vessels swarmed around them like angry insects, striking from multiple angles and disappearing before the aliens could return fire effectively. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Jake Sullivan was leading the siege of the Thrix hive worlds. The insectoid species had always prided themselves on their military discipline, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to follow their rules of engagement. Sullivan's ships used the Thrix's own hive mentality against them, targeting communication nodes and queen ships to throw entire fleets into confusion. Their formation is breaking apart, reported his sensor officer as another hive ship exploded. Without central coordination, they can't adapt to our tactics. Sullivan smiled grimly. That's the problem with species that think they're superior. They never learn to handle real adversity. The most important battles were happening in the shipyards and research facilities that Dr. Amanda Foster had identified as critical to Council military production. Human special forces, led by officers like Colonel Danny Rodriguez, were capturing intact facilities and the alien scientists who worked in them. Surrender and you will be treated well, Rodriguez told a group of Nebula researchers who had been developing new shield technology. Continue to resist and we'll turn you over to the Vakani freedom fighters. I'm sure they have some interesting questions about the experiments you've been conducting on their people. The aliens surrendered immediately. They had spent so long as the oppressors that they had no idea how to handle being oppressed themselves. But the masterpiece of Operation Tempest was Dr. Foster's latest creation, the Titan-class supercarriers. These massive vessels, each over 1 kilometer long, were mobile shipyards that could construct and deploy entire fleets while in deep space. Captain Michelle Davis commanded the UES Atlas, the first operational Titan, as it moved through Council territory like a force of nature. Launch all fighters, Davis ordered as her ship approached the Gravek core worlds. Bombers are to target their industrial platforms. Interceptors provide cover. Manufacturing bays begin production of replacement craft immediately. The Atlas was not just a warship. It was a one-vessel invasion fleet. Its manufacturing bays could produce fighters faster than the enemy could destroy them. Its research labs continuously improved human technology using captured alien equipment. Most importantly, its diplomatic facilities were negotiating with oppressed species throughout the system, offering them freedom in exchange for alliance with humanity. The Council's response was everything Pierce had hoped for. Instead of defending their scattered territories, they concentrated their remaining forces for one massive counterattack. 10,000 ships from all 7 species gathered at Nexus Prime, ready to crush the human rebellion with overwhelming force. They still don't understand, Pierce told his staff as they watched the alien fleet formation. They think this is a traditional war where whoever has the biggest fleet wins. They have no idea what we're really planning. The Battle of Nexus began when the Council fleet advanced in perfect formation, their ships arranged according to traditions that were older than human civilization. They expected the humans to meet them head-on in honorable combat. Instead, they found a minefield that extended for millions of kilometers around the system. Impossible, transmitted Supreme Counselor Ethnos from his flagship. No species has the resources to mine an entire star system. His answer came from Admiral Pierce himself. We didn't mine the system, Counselor. We mined hyperspace itself. Welcome to human engineering. The hyperspace mines were Dr. Foster's greatest achievement. Weapons that existed partially in normal space and partially in the dimension ships used for faster-than-light travel. They were invisible to conventional sensors and could detonate with enough force to cripple even the largest dreadnoughts. As Council ships struggled through the minefield, human fleets struck from directions the aliens had never expected. Ships emerged from hyperspace inside the enemy formation. Stealth vessels that had been hiding for days suddenly revealed themselves. Fighters launched from concealed bases throughout the system swarmed over alien vessels like locusts. The battle raged for 3 days across 7 different star systems. Council ships designed for formal combat between honorable enemies found themselves outmatched by human vessels built for total war. Alien commanders who had studied ancient battle manuals discovered that their enemies had thrown out every rule and tradition of galactic warfare. 1 year after the fall of the Galactic Council, Emperor Stephen Walsh stood before the Great Assembly Hall of Terra Nexus, the rebuilt station that had once been the symbol of alien oppression. The chamber looked completely different now. Where once 7 species had sat in judgment over lesser beings, hundreds of representatives from dozens of worlds now gathered as equals to shape the future of the galaxy. Citizens of the Terran Galactic Empire, Walsh began, his words translated into 50 different languages for the assembled delegates. We gathered today not to celebrate conquest, but to remember why we fought. We fought for the simple idea that no being should bow to another simply because of their species, or the world they were born on. The Emperor paused, looking out at faces that ranged from reptilian Catherians to insectoid Vakani, to dozens of species that most humans had never seen before the war. 1 year ago, the galaxy was ruled by fear. Today, it is governed by choice. Any world, any species, any individual who wishes to leave our alliance is free to do so. But those who stay do so as partners, not subjects. Admiral Patricia Kane, now Supreme Commander of the Imperial Navy, watched the ceremony from the military observation deck. Her fleet of over 2,000 warships stretched across 3 star systems, but unlike the old Council forces, they were not needed to keep subject species in line. The new Empire's strength came from the willing cooperation of beings who had found something they had never experienced under alien rule: respect. Status report from the Outer Rim, her aide, Captain Ben Morris, announced as he approached with the daily intelligence briefing. What are our former guests up to? Kane asked, referring to the Council species that had been relocated to supervised worlds after their trials. The Zalari are adapting well to their new circumstances, Morris reported. They've started a crystal growing operation that's producing some of the finest art pieces in the galaxy. The Thrix are having more trouble adjusting to individual thinking, but their younger generation seems to be adapting. Kane nodded. The decision to spare the Council species had been controversial, but Emperor Walsh had insisted that the new empire would not be built on revenge. The former rulers were prisoners, but they were treated humanely and given the chance to contribute to the civilization they had once oppressed. The real success stories were the species that had been enslaved by the Council. Commander Danny Rodriguez, now governor of the Catherian sector, had overseen the transformation of 36 worlds from slave colonies to thriving independent systems. The reptilian warriors had proven to be excellent peacekeepers, and their knowledge of the galaxy's hidden roots and forgotten worlds had been invaluable. The Catherians have volunteered. Another battalion for the exploration fleet, Rodriguez reported, during the weekly governor's meeting. They're eager to help explore the Outer Rim territories that the Council declared off limits. Any particular reason for their enthusiasm? Asked Governor Lisa Santos, who oversaw the former Gravik mining worlds. Rodriguez smiled. They think there might be more precursor ruins out there. Dr. Stone's discoveries have got everyone excited about what we might find in the unexplored regions. Dr. Rebecca Stone had indeed revolutionized galactic archaeology. Her teams, working from bases on dozens of worlds, had uncovered evidence that the precursors had explored far beyond the regions the Council claimed to control. Ancient star maps showed pathways to distant galaxies and references to civilizations that might still exist in the vast spaces between stars. The really exciting discovery is on the rim world of Kepler-7. Stone told Emperor Walsh during her monthly briefing, "We found intact precursor computers with databases that are still functional. The knowledge stored in them could advance our technology by thousands of years." Walsh leaned forward with interest. "What kind of knowledge?" "Everything," Stone replied. "Mathematics that makes our best theories look primitive. Engineering principles that could let us build structures the size of solar systems. Most importantly, star charts that show routes to other galaxies where precursor colonies might still exist." The Emperor considered the implications. How long would it take to explore these routes? With conventional ships, centuries. But the precursor data includes designs for vessels that can cross intergalactic distances in months rather than years. Dr. Foster thinks she can build a prototype within 2 years. Dr. Amanda Foster had become the Empire's chief scientist, overseeing research stations that spanned hundreds of worlds. Her teams had integrated human engineering with precursor technology and knowledge gained from dozens of alien species. The results were advancing human science at a pace that would have seemed impossible just a few years earlier. The key insight, Foster explained to her research teams, is that the precursors didn't just build technology. They built systems that could evolve and improve themselves. That's why their ruins are still functional after millions of years. Her latest project was the Galaxy-class exploration vessel UES Infinity, a ship that incorporated the best of human engineering, precursor technology, and innovations from every species in the Alliance. It was designed not just to travel between galaxies, but to establish permanent bases and maintain contact across impossible distances. Admiral Jake Sullivan, now commander of the exploration fleet, watched the Infinity take shape in the orbital shipyards above Terra Nexus. The massive vessel dwarfed even the Titan-class carriers that had been so decisive in the war against the Council. More importantly, it represented something that no species in the galaxy had ever attempted, a serious effort to explore beyond the boundaries of known space. "She's beautiful," commented his second-in-command, Admiral Michelle Davis. "When do we get to take her for a test run?" "Dr. Foster says another 6 months for final systems integration," Sullivan replied. "But we're already receiving volunteers from every species in the Alliance. Everyone wants to be part of the first intergalactic expedition." That enthusiasm was typical of the new empire, where the Council had ruled through fear and enforced conformity. The Terran Alliance attracted beings who were excited about pushing boundaries and exploring new possibilities. Scientists, warriors, artists, and dreamers from hundreds of worlds competed for positions in the Imperial services. Captain Tony Mitchell, now commanding a deep space reconnaissance squadron, was preparing for one such mission when his sensors detected something that changed everything. His ship was investigating a distress beacon in the outer rim when they found a damaged vessel of completely unknown design. "It's not from any species in our database," reported his sensor officer, Lieutenant Nicole Baker. "The hull materials are unfamiliar, and the energy signatures don't match anything we've seen before." Mitchell ordered his ship to approach carefully. The damaged vessel was clearly not of galactic origin, but it was broadcasting on frequencies that human equipment could barely detect. When his communications officer finally managed to decode the signal, the message sent chills through the entire crew. "This is Captain Sarah Martinez of the colony ship New Horizon," the transmission began. "We left Earth 73 years ago with 10,000 colonists bound for the Magellanic Clouds. We have established a successful colony on Haven Prime, but we are under attack by something ancient and hostile. The entities call themselves the Devourers, and they consume entire civilizations. We need help. Please, if anyone receives this message, humanity is not alone in the universe, and we are in terrible danger." The discovery that human colonists had established settlements beyond the galaxy was shocking enough. The revelation that they were under attack by unknown enemies was terrifying. Mitchell immediately transmitted his findings back to Terra Nexus, where Emperor Walsh convened an emergency session of the Imperial Council. "How many colony ships left Earth before first contact?" Walsh asked his advisors. Records show at least 12 expeditions launched between 2157 and 2189, replied his chief of staff Ryan Murphy. We lost contact with all of them when we developed faster-than-light travel. We assumed they were still traveling through normal space. Admiral Kane studied the star charts that Captain Mitchell had transmitted. The Magellanic Clouds are nearly 200,000 light-years away. Even with precursor technology, it would take months to reach them. Then we'd better get started, Walsh decided. Admiral Sullivan, how quickly can you prepare the Infinity for an intergalactic rescue mission? Dr. Foster's teams are working around the clock, Sullivan replied. Give us 3 months and we'll have the first intergalactic vessel in human history ready for departure. The Emperor nodded and activated the Empire-wide communication system. Throughout human space and across the Allied worlds, his message reached billions of beings who had found freedom and purpose under the Terran flag. Citizens of the Empire, Walsh announced, we have learned that humanity's reach extends far beyond our galaxy. Our brothers and sisters who left Earth decades ago are in danger from enemies we do not yet understand. We will not abandon them. We will not let fear stop us from exploring the universe. We will show these devourers what happens when they threaten human beings. As the Emperor spoke, construction crews across the Empire began,